How you doing today, Monty?
I'm having a good day, man. All in all, I can't complain.
I'm excited. We're actually putting this thing together. It's been one of those things that I've been looking forward to for quite a while, and we're getting everybody up here now. I see Oz is up. We have Doug in, Justin might as well since we're getting things rolling here, getting things started. Oz, you're unmuted. Let me make sure we can all hear each other. You want to say hello?
Hello, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Excellent.
Doug, I think you're the last one. If you hit that unmute button, it'd be great to
Them
hear from you as
apples.
well.
Does that work?
You sound like you're from Texas. Is that your voice? Is that correct?
I'm from Texas, y'all.
All right, we got the right Doug then.
You got the right Doug. I am right. I'm a southpaw, but I'm right. You know what it means to be a southpaw?
Enlighten,
Left-handed.
enlighten everybody here because we do have a few people in the audience as well.
Well, southpaw would mean that you write with the left hand.
Means that you are in the better 20% of the country. Me and you, Doug.
We're what
You
now?
guys are special. You guys are really
Me and
special.
Doug and
Making
I
sure
are
that
both
everything you write
southpaws.
is all, messy and blurry and smudged.
But
Yep.
only the people that are left-handed are in their right mind. Hence, I'm right.
You guys everyone came on here to, find out more about Bitcoin mining, and they're getting a comedy show. This is fantastic.
Hey, if you guys write with your left hand, I left with my right hand.
You left with your right?
Yeah,
This
no,
is not funny. It was bad dad joke.
He is a dad.
I'm gonna share this webinar out one more time on the tweet box, and then we're gonna get started over here. Really thanks everybody for coming, and I would like to introduce to you Action CEO. Doug's actually the CEO. Action CEO is just his name. He is the acting CMO and marketing consultant. He has been helping us a lot on this project in the last few months, and kudos to you. Yeah, take it away, man.
All right. Well, first and foremost, let me give you guys a little bit of heads up. There are things you can do as a participant. Don't feel like you're just in the dark there. There is a little button that says Q&A. Feel free to hit that at any point, ask questions. We're here to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of the time that we have together. Ultimately, this is not for us. This is for you. We're excited to have all of you guys joining us and participating in this webinar because ultimately, we do believe that Bitcoin is freedom, and we want to share this incredible technology with the world. We want to share how we're, tapping into it, but also what does it mean to us? Because ultimately, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't important, if it didn't matter, if it wasn't literally freedom. And I have a fun background to where, this little Statue of Liberty means a lot to me personally. Coming from a third world country and moving to the US, my eyes were open like, oh, freedom does, look a little better here. And then you kind of live life and you understand a little bit more of what's out there and you go, man, I'm not as free as I wish I could be. And more, we're seeing this world essentially trying to, limit your accessibility to just about anything. May it be in the purchases that you make, may it be in how much things that you have are valued, how they're valued, and who you can transact with. And that's just not a world that I want to live in. And it's why back in the early days of Bitcoin, I got in it just a couple of years after it kicked off. I looked at this thing and I said, wow, this is incredible. This is technology that's going to revolutionize the world. And here I am over a decade later, and I'm still excited about it. I am not only excited about it, I am proud to be with, part of a company now that is taking this to the next level and empowering everyday investors, everyday users to be part of it as well. The truth is that back when I started, it was easy to mine Bitcoin. If you had a PC, CPU, GPU, it didn't matter. you could mine and you could get rewarded with this wonderful currency. And now, well, it's really up to the big leagues, right? Because unless you have a very well established business, it becomes harder and harder for you to effectively earn Bitcoin at the rate that you should be earning Bitcoin. More and more companies are getting in this business and building gigantic farms and leaving out the little guys. And when I was approached, well, I approached them. When I approached Mati and Doug, after I heard from them on a wolf space, I said, this is really cool. Not only are you trying to make this technology available to all of us, but you care enough to welcome in people that have $100 in the bank to invest in a company that's doing something cool. That changed my mindset in the fact that, all right, I don't have to be putting in thousands and thousands of dollars to be part of this really cool movement. I can do it at the comfort of my own home and allowing really smart people like Mati and Doug and Oz to take it forward. And I am missing out one person. I am leaving that person out, which is Justin. Because after I came in, to the organization, I said, you know what? I think I can help you guys take this a step further. And it's not through my own knowledge, although I am knowledgeable in this network. I want to make sure that it grows, it expands, and it does really well. I want you to introduce you guys to Justin, who is somebody that was already taking part in Bitcoin mining and has been involved for a number of years. But that's a story for a little bit later. And you can see him right there on the screen. Hopefully his cat doesn't come by and ruin that beautiful shot. But this whole thing that we're doing really revolves around empowering users, empowering the people at the end that are now being brought up and placed first. And I'm just super, super excited to be a part of it. I wouldn't be here if it didn't mean something to me. And if I didn't believe that it was going up. Now, I can sit here and try to tell you why Bitcoin is going to go up to the moon. But better than doing that, what I want to do is actually two things. First, encourage you, take a look at the price of Bitcoin and how it's been doing over the last, let's say just a month. You can go the whole year, but just over the last month, it's been doing pretty well. And second thing is, I'm going to let Mati speak because he actually did this for a long time for money and got paid really well for it. Mati, can you give them a little bit of your background? How you've been doing TA and been involved in figuring out what the markets are actually saying?
Yeah, definitely. And also want to encourage everybody to use that chat feature or the Q&A. Why don't we play a game? Who can guess what the price of Bitcoin is going to be by the halving? So just go ahead and write that as a question into the Q&A. So I want to make sure that everybody's familiar with it and that we've got a dialogue going, because this is not like Action Sense, it's not us talking, but hopefully conversation and discussion. Will 72,843. Very cool. That's a good number. By the halving, I think it's doable. Honestly. Yeah, I mean this is what you see on the slide. I mean, this is a regular chart. Crypto Witch 87,420. I like the 420. We're gonna live the memes over here. 120,000. I can't see your name, it just says iPhone, but awesome. And cool. So I mean, these are the you're probably familiar already with the Death Cross and the Golden Cross. And if you guys have been with us for a while and have some background of the chart, the Golden Cross is a bullish indicator when that red line moves above the blue line. The Death Cross actually did happen. There was one in mid-September, and I was going, hey, I don't really believe this Death Cross is real. I tweeted about it at the time. But what I really wanted to show you guys today was this tweet over here that I sent out. And I want to go beyond the simple technical analysis and the price chart, but I do believe that I deserve some bragging rights at the moment. And I'm just going to share my screen here, my other screen. Can you see my Twitter page at the moment?
Yep, it's up.
Thanks. So yeah, look, it's this was sent out November 6th, exactly 1 month ago to this day. I put a graphic warning on this chart because I did believe it was going to be violent. I was tracking this upward channel, and I said here, basically that there is a easily foreseeable scenario where we get an upward breakout of that upward trend. That did indeed happen. And this is the result of it right over here. It took a while. That 38K was a killer. But we did get up and over it. Another question is if we can use that as some sort of a support line, where we get a pullback. I mean, even just the way it's looking today, we could not be done at this point. That would be a bit surprising because we have extended the move. But in the short term, it's very difficult always to know what's happening. The most important indicator that I'm watching these days is this one right over here. This is the time to the halving. I'm sure you're all familiar with the 4-year cycles. Bitcoin goes through the 4-year cycles revolving around the halving event. We have 138 days. Typically, price of Bitcoin starts shooting several months before or several months after the halving. And as far as Bitcoin miners are concerned, this is something that we're watching very steadily because, and I'm sure Justin's going to tell you about the purchase that we've made, our roadmap for deployment and all that. However, as far as I'm concerned, these are the things that I'm looking at. Bitcoin transaction fees, which is money in our pocket for miners, are up. Look at that. Average Bitcoin transaction fee right now is about $20 per transaction. Higher that number goes, that is directly translatable into revenue for miners. And then I wanted to point out the ordinals as well, which is also something that's happening. These are NFTs that are minted on the Bitcoin blockchain. So instead of NFTs on Ethereum, we now have NFTs on Bitcoin, and it is a game changer. It's not just images, though I do have a few of those. Text files, audio files, data files can all be stored on Bitcoin's blockchain now. And this is happening at a very rapid rate. Ordinal fees paid to miners so far equals 3,365 Bitcoin. So times that by $43,891 per Bitcoin, you get the dollar amount. As you can see, it's not some change. This is extra money that's going to miners that was not going to miners before. And the more this line goes up, the more all of these statistics continue to grow and we see more activity on the Bitcoin blockchain. That is going to be directly translatable into revenue for miners, which is why I'm so excited about this. And then last but not least, the chart that I wanted to show you here, these are the price of ASIC miners. The ones that we just purchased right now are the red line. So I wanted to zoom in here for you. These have been going down in price very steadily since the bull run. Prices of miners have been going down, which means that any mining company who bought machines a year ago, 2 years ago, they've been going down in value. And that actually has a huge impact on a company's balance sheet, especially a company like ours. So the fact that we just made our purchase right now, we made our purchase exactly on November the 2nd. And that is on this chart. We zoom in. This is the 3-month chart right here. So as you can see, according to that red line there, we picked the exact bottom of the market. This is not an accident. This is by design. We were waiting on the side. We were able to do the deployment around here. We were able to do the purchase around here. So let's give it a few more weeks. We gave it a few more weeks. And then we said, okay, let's go. And those miners, Justin is more in touch with them. As far as what he told me yesterday, they're up 25% from what we bought them at. So we're already in the green as far as the Bitcoin miners. And I see, Justin, is your hand up on purpose? Do you want to say something?
You're just blatantly stealing my part of the presentation at this point.
Okay, so let's move on to Oz. And I think then Justin is next. I'm sorry about that.
You're good. I'm kidding.
All right, cool.
Yeah, no, to kind of echo what Maddie has been talking about here, I think there's some interesting utilities that are kind of hitting the market right now. I mean, One is the fact that we're able to buy miners at really almost the lowest point that they've been at in about 3 years, to get our operations up and running, and that fires up this month. But two is kind of looking at the market right now, and then also this interesting testimony of banks that's going on before Congress. It's curious to see the constant waffling of Jamie Dimon, where one day he's very Bitcoin positive, and then the next day he's like it's only for criminals. And then J.P. Morgan goes and acquires another tranche of Bitcoin because what he said impacted pricing. But what's kind of curious is that negativity that we had seen from banking executives in the past couple of years, where someone like a Jamie Dimon would say something horrible about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin would take like a double-digit percentage hit, isn't really affecting price at all in this market. So that's an interesting thing to kind of keep in mind. The halving that's coming up is going to make the actual mining a little bit more difficult, and it's really more advantageous to players like ourselves that are coming into the market with some of the latest equipment at the lowest price. But what I think is going to be a really sort of long-term yield opportunity for us, is the fact that ETFs are slowly getting greenlit. And looking at this from my seat, which is really risk regulatory compliance, kind of working with Justin to figure out refresh and cycling of machines over the course of time, and then also figuring out like where are the best places for us to deploy. The ETFs coming in are going to snap up a tremendous amount of OTC, or over the counter, which is basically just kind of generally market available Bitcoin. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be seeing a scarcity push into place. And as we're familiar with commodities in largesse, the scarcer the commodity, the higher the price. So what we could be looking at in the near future, into the end of the year, into January, is a push towards $50,000 Bitcoin. But with the ETFs getting greenlit, and each ETF looking at acquiring tranches of 10,000 Bitcoin or more, we could very easily see Bitcoin pushing to the $100,000 mark by, I would say, Q3 of next year. And all of these factors don't just make it an attractive investment; they make the mining apparatus a very attractive investment for what we're doing and how we're moving forward. And then the other thing I kind of wanted to speak to too is sort of green energy and green tech. The state of Texas, who we are kind of benchmarked on, with one of our facilities, has invested $4 billion in moving into wind and solar over the course of the next couple of years, and they already have several gigawatts worth of deployments. And what we're looking at in terms of our overall thesis is to, have a mix out there that includes a large segment of green energy. We are also looking at things like flare gas and that sort of traditional energy mechanism in areas where it makes sense. But our long-term thesis, and the thesis that is really being pushed out by the Texas Blockchain Council right after their more recent convention, is the fact that, number one, green energy is a huge catalyst driver for Bitcoin mining, and Bitcoin mining in converse is a catalyst for creating more green energy. Number two, that Bitcoin is actually an attractive asset to hold in your portfolio. If you're actually looking to offset, going into more green technologies, simply because that's really the wave of the future, and that's the wave of where a lot of this energy that we're going to be getting is coming from. And then third is, the utility of what we may be looking at later next year, once our installations kind of crest and plateau to a slightly higher level, is carbon offsets, and the ability for us to look at methodologies by which we can really reduce our impact on the environment and our impact to carbon production. So those are all things that sort of factor into QE, and like why it's it's one of the reasons why I'm part of this team. But it's also a way for us to really look at this in terms of the longevity of the industry and what's really going to be necessitated to make this cleaner, leaner, better operating over the course of the near term, but then ostensibly the next couple of years. And I think that all kind of builds towards, a sort of a conglomerated perspective, which is that you've got an interesting asset, you've got a huge upside to that asset, you've got the opportunity to invest in a way where it's actually doing a little bit less harm to the environment. Versus other, traditional industries that are out there that are still using very, very heavily subsidized fossil fuels in many cases. And there's just a longevity perspective here in terms of what we can do to kind of work with the environment as opposed to against it. And those are things that I'm excited about, but I think those are things that you as potential investors or folks that are looking at mining or looking at getting into Bitcoin or really maybe even stepping into this industry for the first time should keep in mind.
Right on. Doug, you can turn your video on now.
Well, I will be more than happy to. I hope this works. Well, so we talk about Bitcoin for stabilizing the grid. And so, what Oz was talking about as far as green energy and flared gas, there's several different segments there, but for grid stabilization, that's more of an what they call on grid. That's where you're plugging directly into the grid or a substation as we have an agreement with. So Bitcoin mining, we're considered a flexible load type customer. And so power providers, excuse me, and I'm trying to get rid of a cough here, but on we're considered a flexible load customer. So power providers have what's called a demand response program. And so we're the right kind of entity that then they can give us what's called an interruptible rate. And that simply means we can get a lower rate than what most type customers can get. The reason we're interruptible is we're computers. And so if they need the power, the energy, like during the summertime here in Texas, they need a lot of extra energy to run air conditioning for homes and businesses and hospitals. And so with us, we can power down or actually turn off completely if the grid needs that power. So we have a very flexible we have a lot of flexibility on how we operate with the grid. When it comes to renewable energy, the synergy between Bitcoin mining operations and renewable energy sources is how we can help stabilize the wind and solar because they're intermittent. Excuse me. They're considered intermittent because wind is up and down, the sun goes up and it goes down, and so it's not always there. And so we're able to help these power providers that have wind and solar to be able to use their wind and solar when there's an abundance. And so now we're helping the power company to utilize an idle asset, as they call it. If they have sometimes they'll turn these wind turbines off because they have more energy than they need. So for us, we can help them keep those wind turbines going, which helps them make money and balance their books better and become a more profitable company as a wind and solar power company. So we're moving towards more of a hybrid type relationship with the energy. So we can be on grid, as we just talked about. That's the substation, the wind and solar, but also we can do off grid. And that means that we can back up, we can put one of those natural gas engined power generators and take it out there to the field in the middle of nowhere and be able to take the natural gas that might be stranded or they might be flaring and be able to put that natural gas to use, turn it into energy for Bitcoin mining. And so we're helping the environment quite a bit in that respect, as far as getting that, the CO2 and methane out of the air and put it to good use mining Bitcoin. And I hope that helps explain it all. Sometimes these things can be more questions than answers, but at the end of the day, I think you're going to find that with Bitcoin mining, we're actually an asset for the energy companies, we're an asset for the environment, and we're able to keep things moving more smoothly at the end of the day. So who's up next?
Justin.
It's me, but my dog's losing her mind. I think we actually have some miners being delivered. They've been trickling in after our big delivery over the weekend. So but I am here to talk about our partnerships and collaborations and turn on my video as well. So the big thing about working in crypto that I have found is that what is essential and important is your network. So who you know and who they know and what basically you guys can do together. So crypto business in general is dog eat dog, it's survival of the fittest. But in crypto, I've really noticed that it's a lot of collaborations, a lot of people reaching out and wanting to help. And I know Madi sometimes will say, well, why are they helping us? And I'm just like, they're altruistic. So like, that's just kind of the environment that we're in. So it's a lot about collaborating. So when the opportunity to partner and be acquired by Quantum came up, obviously I looked into it, looked at the team and the role that I would fill, and it was honestly a perfect fit. So me being the COO and being able to drive progress, operations, and make sure things are moving forward. So that was key. Like I said, partnerships are crucial. So one of our stretch goals, if you look to the right of the slide, you'll see a prototype board for the board game that we are developing. So if we reach, or when we reach $500,000, we will basically produce a board game that we will offer at cost to all investors that they'll be able to buy. So it's called Proof of Play. So it's kind of a take on Catan and a couple other games, if you are familiar with that. So it's going to be pretty interesting. So one thing with that is we have secured with the 4 companies in the middle, the Satoshi Action Fund, the Texas Blockchain Council, Foreman, and Luxor have all agreed to allow us to use their name, image, likeness, all that stuff within the game itself to make it as realistic as possible. So I'm really excited about that and really excited about this partnership moving forward.
You want to talk about the roadmap as well and where
Yeah, so as far as our roadmap, we look to get these miners that are sitting here. They will be delivered end of next week, and then they will be plugged in shortly after. I'll be down on site to helping to do that myself. And so we will be plugged in. We will be hashing by the end of the year. We will be just under 20 petahash of hash rate for our first deployment, so right around a half a megawatt. So it's just exciting. So there's a lot of projects that talk about what they would do with your money and things like that, and some of them rug, some of them have inexperienced teams that aren't able to fulfill the promise. But we have the team. We're delivering on what we said we were going to do, and it's just really only the beginning. Like, I can't tell you how excited I am. Like,
Yeah, case in point, I mean, what we're doing this deployment now, as one of the, ways to make revenue. In the meantime, we have literally about nearly a dozen sites that we can set up, and we're in talks with institutional investors as well. We have no upper limit to the amount that we can raise and deploy. I mean, we could literally put $100 million to work within about 6 months. So this is attractive for them, but they want to see that, we're able to do this. We're able to, build a facility and all of that before they're going to be willing to park their capital with us. So this crowdfund is instrumental in taking us from, the planning phase into the actuality phase, and that's already really happening on the ground. So and we'll get into that a little bit more. But the idea is that how do we structure the company, and how do we structure this crowd raise, and what is the importance of it? I think that kind of just touched on it a little bit. But what is a safe? What is it? What is it? Crowdfund. Crowdfund goes under Regulation CF, which stands for Regulation Crowdfunding, which is part of Obama's Jobs Act, which he allowed companies, new startups, to raise money from the crowd without the need of too much, red tape or anything like that, and without the SEC coming down hard on them, calling them a security or blah blah blah. And we want to be $1 billion company, and we thought about this long and hard. How do we get to be $1 billion company? The only way is that we got to play by the book. I'm a licensed portfolio manager, as many of you know. We've got to make sure that it's structured and that the company has very solid foundations. And certainly that's been top of mind for us. And when the idea of and we did spend some time, just speaking with institutions and getting around, we were making headway, and then the Silicon Valley Bank imploded, several other crypto banks, and that basically put the institutional investors on the back foot. They were no longer able to take any kind of risks, especially not anything that's crypto related or anything like that. Just a second. So we set up this crowdfund page, and you can see it here. Can you see it here? We set it up through WeFunder, and WeFunder has put together several large crowdfunds before. We selected them, first of all, because of their user friendliness, and just their onboarding process is very clean and very simple. Through my experience with various online brokers, I understand how important it is to make sure that people can get in and find what they need right away. And they handled the entire filing for us with the SEC, and basically that puts us into a very clean category. The other thing that people ask is, what am I buying here? So yeah, I mean, you get the perks, right? We discussed the perks over here in this page. We also discussed the stretch goals. Justin mentioned one of the teasers. Our stretch goal is at $500,000. Once we raise $500,000 cumulatively, we're going to be putting together that board game that he mentioned. And then once we raise $1 million cumulative, we're going to have a huge blowout party, which you are all invited to. Anybody with at a minimum of $100 into the crowdfund is eligible to receive both of these stretch goals should we achieve those milestones. And then, of course, various perks that we have at different levels: $500, $1,000, and then this one is, watch out. We haven't officially released this yet, but we are planning a Bitcoin ordinal set. I mentioned ordinals before. And we're working on one. We'll do a few giveaways, but anybody with an amount of $2,500 in the crowdfund is going to get one of those PFPs, which are going to look awesome. But what
Do
are
we
you
want to
gonna-
do we want to do a sneak peek? Maybe I'll send you in a DM. I just got it last
Oh
night.
yeah, well, you should be able to share your screen, I guess.
Well, here I'll send it to you, and you let me know what you think. So, hold on one second.
Yeah. Some of the earlier ones that we were looking at were really awesome. So where are you sending that to me, on Telegram? Yeah.
Yeah.
But what are you buying? It's not this about the stretch goals, and the community is super important here. This is why we're doing it through the crowdfund. But what are you buying? It's not just about the perks, and it's not just about the stretch goals, but really it's about this little box over here, which is quite significant. This says, what are you buying, as far as the dollar amount that you're putting. So the crowdfund is done through what's called a SAFE, which stands for Simple Agreement for Future Equity. This is an invention of Y Combinator. They've been doing it successfully for quite a long time. And what a SAFE means is that you are buying future equity in the company. It's very common for a startup not to have a valuation, right? So a valuation, as we know, can also be referred to as a market cap, total number of shares multiplied by the price per share is your market cap. Now, for a public company, it's easy. You could just see the number of shares, and you can see the price per share, and you just do the multiplication, and you've got the market cap. Or for a crypto coin, even easier, because it's all transparent. For a young startup, valuations don't normally happen until much later. So Quantum Expeditions has 10 million shares. But what are those shares worth? Well, that's subject to the holder and the purchaser. So when we did our seed round, which is our first seed round, we raised $350,000 in the bear market as Terra Luna was crashing. I know that some of you in here today also invested during the seed round. You got an excellent valuation there for the company. And as you can see, this is the valuation cap that you're getting, right? So in a SAFE, you don't actually know the valuation yet. What you know is the valuation cap. So the SAFE gives you a certificate that will be converted into preferred shares in the company once the next valuation round happens. So once we go for either a Series A or an IPO, or even just a large institutional investment in which equity is involved, that institution or brokerage will do their homework on us. They'll give us a proper valuation. They'll say your stock is worth, let's just say for simplicity's sake, let's say they say that it's worth $50 million, right? They say the company's worth $50 million. So that means that you're buying something that's worth $50 million for just $25 million. And this $25 million, and then if we're going public at $1 billion valuation, we worked out the math to about 40x. And if that happens within the next 4-year cycle, I think that it'd be a very nice return on investment for anybody here. And the other thing to note is the discount that you're getting. So also this 25 million, see this 33.3 million is for anybody who's coming in later in this round. This round has 2 phases. One is called the early bird bonus, which is the 25 million valuation. And for the early birds, you're also getting a 20% discount. So whatever you're paying, you're actually getting a discount on those shares of 20% as well. And then after we reach once we reach the $300,000 in, then those valuations are going up immediately. Quite instantly, it's going up to 33.3 million. So that's why this is important now, because we're going to be able to use that money that you're putting in right now and put it into miners while they're still cheap, while the bull run is still young. And I'm going to take a look at what Justin sent me here. Yeah, I suppose we can share this. This is just for you guys here in the webinar. Are you able to see the screen? Somebody just type in the chat and see if you're able to see the screen here.
Oh, I see it.
Okay, yeah. So we've got some drawings over here. I think they're not as quite as good as some of the stuff that we've seen previously. We're gonna keep on this until they're perfect. I really want a perfect set, even though they don't have utility. I think the probably the utility that these ordinals will have is a special spot in the Discord. For those of you who haven't been in our Discord yet, please do join. That's something that this is where we're actually building where we're building out this thing. So anybody who wants can come in the Discord any day of the week, and always just we're on the voice chat quite often here. I think we got a few questions here, and now is the time. If anybody does have any questions on anything that was said here, very happy to go over it.
Yep. So one of the questions that came in was, so everything is basically plugged or wired up and ready to go. It is wired up and ready to go. I was on site and saw that myself firsthand. So yes, Fuger. We just slide in the boxes and connect.
Yeah, sorry. Theo Fudger is our lead investor for this round. So this is a very important person, and for everybody else who's investing in this round, Theo is your lead. So you can come to him with any complaints or questions as well.
Ooh, Theo, I got no worries. Yeah, I got some awesome pictures that we posted in the Discord. So we've actually got our first miner up and hashing. So I'm testing them and working on the aftermarket firmware and all that stuff in my basement. So Quantum Expeditions is hashing, and we have mined our first or gotten our first reward. So it's pretty it's just exciting. It's awesome. Like we are early, and camera's on. I'm not used to turning it on and off. So yeah, we are early, and it's just exciting. Like the halving, usually people start talking about Bitcoin a couple months after the halving. Like people are getting excited about it now, and we are ready to go. So
yeah, not only are we ready to go, yes, I think it was yesterday. Yes, we mined our first rewards, but this is just one machine that's running in Justin's garage. We're going to be moving those miners to a temporary location. Possibly two temporary locations. Justin was talking about the collaboration opportunities here, and every person that we get on the phone with, we're not just looking at them as like a potential customer or a potential service provider, but actually as a potential partner. It was actually Action or Vic's idea when he first put us on the phone with Justin. So okay, look, we're doing something that's very similar. We're going to be a lot stronger to do this together. And we've got many different potential partners who are in this sort of boat with us, and a lot of them are maybe a little bit further than us. So we're gonna partner with them, and even just the machines that we already have, we'll very likely split them in two, and or split them in two parts. Not splitting them. We're not cutting the machines. We're gonna split them in half and send some to one location, some to another location, so that we can speak with these partners, learn more about the industry as a hands-on perspective, before moving to a more permanent home in our Texas site, which is going to require a lot more institutional investment or much larger investments to get off the ground, because we're talking about much larger facilities and stuff like that. Will with the question. Vic, would you like to read out Will's question while I help my daughter here?
Yeah, I can definitely read that out. So And actually, before I read that out, well, I appreciate you guys actually sending messages. And even if your name is iPhone, we are going to go over all these questions. I just want to remind everybody that this webinar, yes, it's exclusive to the ones that are in here today that signed up for it. However, there is more. This doesn't stop here. We are committed to, yes, mining Bitcoin, but we're also committed to this community. And the really cool thing is that we are available, like Mati had said before, we are in our Discord. So if you have questions post this webinar, please feel free to jump on that Discord. You're going to get a follow-up email from us once the webinar completes, and it's going to have a link to our Discord as well as the WeFunder and our website. The website has the basic links that you can get to whatever place you may need to, from socials on X or anywhere else. The WeFunder is the place where you can join in this community and participate financially. I know we've gotten a few people here sending messages saying, "Hey, just got my tax return. Now I'm convinced I will take some of it and invest." And they said, "Thank you." No, thank you guys. It's really exciting to be able to create something of value for people. Like, to work hard and see the fruit of our labor is really exciting, and that's the reason why we're all in this thing, is because we do believe that together we have this synergetic community going, that we are building something incredible. We are doing something better than we would otherwise be able to do by our own selves. Like I said, the mining, infrastructures right now are pretty darn big, and to compete in that space, it's hard as a standalone person. So, by coming together, I mean, perfect example is Justin joining the team and partnering with Quantum, and from where he was before, kind of doing his own thing with a smaller organization. So we are here to build together. We are here to further not only the mining aspect of it, but also education. So like I said, if you have questions, please feel free to jump on that Discord. If you'd like to participate on that WeFunder, you can go right through it. It's very easy for you to click through, you answer a couple of questions, and you can part of this incredible experience with us. Now, let's get to some of these questions. Will, what are the key metrics you need to achieve to drive the types of valuations you are discussing? The percentage of mine, Bitcoin price, what does that look like? Monty, let me see. Oz, would you be able to touch on this one? I think this would be a great one as far as how valuations are kind of coming up and how they are, considered or put together.
So, sorry, what's the question?
So how are valuations actually decided for companies? And we saw the max valuation of 25 mil on that WeFunder. How does one come up with those numbers?
Sure. So it's predicated on a couple different things. We have internal projections that we leverage in terms of what we're deploying, how we're going to scale, that sort of a thing. There's the initial sort of capital contributions, sweat equity, and work that was done over the first, I'd call it 18 months to get this company up and running, which set kind of a preliminary valuation. And then every time that we take capital on, we have a pre-money valuation and we have a post-money valuation, because taking that capital on actually increases the value of the company. It increases the value of shares. It increases the value of investment that you have in the company, and it turns out kind of like a higher number at the end. So what we're looking at now is 25. As we start looking at additional capital commitments over the course of next year, so that we can basically start scaling out a number of our implementations and growing that into much larger sort of mining facilities, you're going to see that increase exponentially as well. So each time we take additional capital on, you're looking at a factor, and it depends on number one, the cost of money. It depends on how much money is coming in that round. And then there's an output number that's sort of generated. And that's typically a mixture in between, like the lead investors that we'll have, the team, and as well as, some of the math that we do internally to kind of like calculate all of that. That's typically how it's done. Now, when you start getting more complicated vehicles in there, So like if there were a SPAC, or if there was a look at a listing of any nature, whether that would be on a primary exchange or a secondary exchange, um, there's that opportunity. But Maddie, do you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it was something that we deliberated and had several consultants as well with us who are professionals in evaluating companies. It was also a factor of, the seed round. We were able to see very easily what the valuation of that is, and then it was only a matter of increasing slightly to reflect the work that had been done over the last year and a half, 2 years. But in addition to that, and building on what Oz was saying, most of the team, the complete team of Quantum Expeditions, both people who are on the panel right now and the people who are watching in from home, are on the sweat equity. And most of the employees of the company have not received a single dime in compensation as of today, meaning that the people who are working here on equity basis, of course, believe in the project, but that's also the equity is how we're going to be extracting the value when the time comes. So, of course, we've seen Bitcoin miners in the last bull run, flying private jets to for their meetings and stuff like that, and that's never going to happen here because of the way we've set up the structure and the cost approvals for each and every item. Doug today told me, look, I paid $70 out of my own pocket because it wasn't board, it didn't have a board approval. And I'm like, Doug, it's $70, you're gonna have to bite the bullet there and pay it off the card. But the idea here is that there's checks and balances on every single item and every single expense. And then the equity, the preferred equity, we have common equity for sweat equity, but investors get preferred equity because that's your money that we're putting to work. And we take that responsibility, of course, very seriously. And then preferred equity, what that means is that basically you're getting first dibs if in the unlikely event that Quantum Expeditions doesn't make it, or we liquidate or even sell out, you're getting first dibs on the funds that come out of it, or in any kind of a liquidation event, which obviously we hope that never happens. We want to continue growing this thing for generations to come. But the point is that once the company grows to a sufficient size, and that could be, there's no time frame attached to that. That could be during this bull market right now, within the next year or two. It could be a bit later on down the road. Once we decide that there's time that it's time to start taking money out, that's going to be paid out through dividends. And anybody who is holding stock in the company is entitled to get those dividends. So what you're buying here on the crowdfund is actually access to those dividends, in addition to the growth valuation of the company. If we go through an IPO or something like that, from 25 million up to $1 billion, that is in addition to the dividends. So the dividends are simply unconnected to the valuation and everything like that. So it's two strategies for investors. Some are investing based on just the dividends. Some are investing for the growth of the company. In this case, you get the best of both worlds. So I hope that answered your question well.
Now, Mati, for people to get involved and invest, is there a minimum to get started, and is there a minimum to close out this round on week one? What does that look like?
Yeah, minimum to get started is $100. This is really the beauty of it. Also, anybody with $100 is eligible to participate in the stretch goals. So the board game and the rave party.
That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and anybody even without an investment is welcome to join the Discord. That's free of charge. We do recommend $2,500 as because that's the levels that's going to get you the ordinal, which I think is going to be quite cool. It's going to be a nice thing to have on your profile picture on X or wherever else you're active on social media, on Telegram, or even on Discord. If you're just setting up a Discord for the first time, just to get involved in this, you're going to want to have a nice profile picture, and a Bitcoin ordinal really does the trick. Minimum that we need right now, we're at about $19,500. We do have we're talking to one investor right now who's looking at 50K. Hope that comes through. Not, it happens. But yeah, we need to get to a minimum of $50,000 in order for this crowd fund to be successful. And then the early bird goal, so for the better valuation that we discussed, that's 300,000. Once we reach a cumulative of 300,000, you're considered that anybody before that is considered an early bird and getting a better valuation. And then the maximum that the SEC will allow us to raise on this round is $1.235 million. So $1,235,000 that we're able to raise on this round. And if should this round be successful, we can go on to another crowd fund, $5 million, $7 million, etc. Down the line. So I hope that should answer that question.
It does, but Monty, you didn't have to go the crowdfunding route. Like, this is something you decided to do that you thought it was the best means to reach, I guess, an audience, or what? I won't put words in your mouth. Just tell me why.
I'll take that one, or I'll start that one, at least for me personally. Because this one for me is a little personal. So when I kind of started in crypto, I got into it as a home miner, and home mining really is going away the way it is. So the way that hash rate's just exploding, the way that big miners can get, or big players can get 3, 4, 5 cents a kilowatt hour compared to you, it's really going to be hard for a home miner to compete. So giving retail investors and home miners essentially the opportunity to participate in something like this was something that was really important to me, and something that I was excited that Madi shares the same belief.
100%. I think it's pretty cool. In the beginning of Bitcoin, when I first got involved, not that I did it, I can't claim that I did this in any way, shape, or form, but in 2013, you could mine Bitcoin with a laptop. Yoni Asia, who the CEO of eToro, who gave me my first Bitcoin, he actually did mine Bitcoin with a laptop. He mined for Vic, you did too? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yoni's laptop actually got stolen, which pissed him off, and he'll never forget that, of course. But yeah, look, I mean, for me, I think that it's important to have the community involved, but also this is also a business strategy, right? I mean, we will get at some point, investor, and we are speaking with a few right now who we're making headway with, but we will at some point just get an investor who says, okay, $50 million, let's go, because they see it looks good on paper and they're willing to take the risk. During the bear market, however, no investor was willing to take that kind of risk. I think that, within the next year or so, there'll be a lot more willing to go ahead and push the button there because they see the potential and because Bitcoin's pumping again and blah, 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 blah. But I believe that Bitcoin is a magical way of transferring wealth and wealth generation. And it specifically starts from the bottom and goes to the top. The Bitcoin cycle started, 2013 was the early adopters, 2017 was retail, 2021 was the institutional, and I believe that the next bull run, 24, 25, is actually going to be nation state adoption. So you can see that it starts from the little guy and builds the wealth up for the little guy, but more than it does for the big guy, move the needle for the big guy. And also for nation states themselves, we're starting from poor nations like El Salvador, hopping onto Argentina and Central African Republic. And I believe that the poorer nation states are going to be the ones that are adopting Bitcoin first. And so it only makes sense for this company, right, to be starting with our seed round was, of course, readers of the newsletter, right? Almost, I think there was maybe one accredited investor in the entire bunch for our seed round. And then we go to a more public crowd fund. And then once we get the institutional investors involved, we'll already be well on our way, and they're not going to get as good a valuation as you guys are getting.
Awesome. We did have a comment here making sure that, hey, Justin, you're going to give us everything that we need as far as footage is concerned. And when things get plugged in, like we're going to get pictures and videos and everything else like that, right?
You're honestly gonna need to remember or to remind me because I'm
Oh,
We
I
gonna
already
am.
have pictures. They're on our TikTok. They're on our Twitter. They're on our
no
Discord.
of them actually set up because I'm just gonna be excited to set them up and kind of locked in the zone. So I'm gonna need someone to be like, hey Justin,
I'll do it.
take a
I'll
step
be there.
back.
We're speaking anyways, but 5 times a day. So while you're setting them up, I will be Justin more pictures, Justin more videos.
Good, do it.
He's been good about it so far. He has been, and we have videos that I think we haven't posted yet. That's on me. We got to post some more of the stuff that we do have some more stuff that he's posted just from the early shipments that we got to post as well. So yes, good question, good point, and good feedback.
Something else that came over that I dug reply with a quick yes. And this is the sort of thing that you can come over to Discord and talk to us anytime. In terms of clean energy, has hydrogen been considered? Now, here's the nerd in me that's going to come out right now and just cover it as quickly as I possibly can. Yes, hydrogen is awesome. It's 2.5 times more energy dense than let's say natural gas. The problem is that it takes 3 times the space that natural gas would. And ultimately, we want to make sure that we're utilizing clean energy in the way that it makes sense, both in the clean energy sense as well as the financial sense. So when you're talking about natural gas right now, that is a more appealing product to use because, well, when you're drilling for oil, natural gas is kind of byproduct. It's not very clean. It's a little bit dirty, but it needs to be burned. Otherwise, that methane is going to go right into the atmosphere. And join this.
Sorry to cut you off. Let Doug handle this one because we got some. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, go for it, Doug.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, we've actually been looking into it, and I think right now the market's a little early and it's ridiculously expensive currently. But as it becomes more mainstay, we're definitely very open to it. But just like any other energy source, if it's out there, it's doable, it's cost effective. Those are what we're going for. And working with these oil and gas companies, and that's the industry I've been in for a couple of decades now. I know what they need and I know what they're looking for. And that's where we're going to be able to be a very big benefit to help them keep the air clean while at the same time benefit by mining some coin.
I appreciate that, Doug. I see there's one other question coming in. Uh, and Maddie just typing an answer to it, but oh, there it went.
It wasn't a question. It was
I know.
one of our good friends.
It's one of those things that Mati doesn't want to show the flowers that he's been given. Essentially, QEX best leadership team you can invest in. That kind of summarizes the rest of the paragraph that somebody wrote in, but I do appreciate the flowers, guys. Ultimately, the goal is not to create something for ourselves, but for this entire community that we've been building. And we're just excited to be, have the opportunity to not only host webinars, but teach what the Bitcoin network is all about, how mining works, and getting, all of us really to the next level of mining. Oh, this is like a YouTube channel part of this thing, right? Right, Monty?
I don't know what you're talking
Oh, the little disclaimer that kind of goes on. This is for entertainment purposes only. Ultimately, that's kind of how we have to treat some of these things. Hopefully, you guys did think that it was entertaining as well, because we try to be real. I mean, ultimately, what we're building here is not just something. It's not pie in the sky. We have miners. We're doing something real, but we do try to have fun while we're at it, which brings out the entertainment aspect of things. We're not trying to tell you guys how to invest or that you should invest. We want to show you what we're building, and ultimately it's your decision to make to see if you have those spare funds that don't put you in harm's way, or something that you're not willing to lose. Like, that's what's really important here, understanding that there are risks with any kind of investment, especially when it comes to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. But in my opinion, the sky is pretty green, as we've seen over the last month, or actually over last year. it's just been going up, and I'm excited to see what else is out there and what else we will get out of this incredible network. And I appreciate everybody that's been not only a part of it, supporting the network, but supporting Quantum as a whole, being here, part of the community, investing in what we're doing. So from the bottom of my heart, just thank you for everything you guys have done so far.
Yeah, thanks, Vic, and the rest of the team. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. We look forward to seeing you on the Discord and on our cap table. Have a
Yeah,
great day.
we appreciate y'all watching, and thanks for all the questions too.